and gentlemen, it's Tyler from the Tri-Gents here, and today I'm going to be bringing you the patch 5.10 rundown for League of Legends. This patch was released literally an hour ago, so I'm trying to be really on the ball for this one. No real significant changes here. There is a couple stuff. There are a few things that are worth running down though. So hopefully we'll have a bit of a shorter one this time. Lately they've been like 20 to 25 minutes. So let's run through this one really quick. So this patch here is more focused on the supports. It's focused on a lot of the supports and then a couple random things as well. First thing that's important to note is Echo is going to be released in this patch. If you haven't seen Echo yet, definitely go check him out. He looks really cool. I'm not going to run down all of his skills and everything right now because I haven't seen him myself yet. Well, I've seen him, but I haven't played as him. So I'm going to let you guys go check that out. Yeah. Next one is Akali. So, if you remember, I think it was patch 5.9, they made a change to Akali where she would dash essentially behind the target. But it ended up breaking Akali because she wasn't able to like put out damage or something. I don't quite recall. But now, what happens is that if you Q someone initially, the damage will be, or you'll dash really close to them. And in general, you'll dash closer to them. So it's definitely a nice change to Akali, considering they essentially ruined her in the last patch. So this fixes what they did wrong, essentially. Cassiopeia in this stage of the metagame, she's super overpowered. You can put her in top or mid lane, and she becomes an unkillable AP mage as the game scales on. And the reason she's unkillable is because her E, Twin Fang, the way it works is if they're already targeted by a poison ability, then you can just keep using it. And if you kill a unit, it'll heal you. And at 100 stacks of your passive, it heals you as well. So you just keep regenerating mana through blue buff and tier or whatever, plus you're constantly healing through Twin Fang. So it turns Cassiopeia into this unkillable beast. And so these changes here, they reduced the healing overall for her E of her passive. Turn down the music slightly. And then they also made it so that when you kill a unit, so when you CS with your E in lane, it'll heal your mana for less, so by half actually. So Cassiopeia, she'll still scale well into late game, but she won't become this unkillable beast. She'll require a lot better positioning and stuff. So, but yeah, she's still going to do a lot of damage. Don't worry about that. Gragas, who's the current god of the jungle, they made a couple changes to his body slam, which is his E or his gap closer. So they essentially made it so while you use your E, the collision radius is slightly lower, and the radius that you can hit at the end of the cast is also slightly lower. So it essentially makes it slightly harder to use. That's really all it is. Which is good. Gragas needs a nerf. He's really overpowered. Gragas and Rek'Sai and Sejuani are all overpowered, and you're going to see that they're all changed in this patch. Jinx is the next change here. She's one of 3 insanely good AD carries at the moment, or 4. They essentially, for Jinx, they lowered the attack speed that you get on your minigun, so one of the forms of your Q, and as compensation, it now scales into late game. So in the early game, you're going to have less attack speed, and you won't be able to shred towers as fast and things like that. But once the game goes on, like once you're level 16, you'll have more attack speed. So the point of Jinx was as a late game hyper carry, and this essentially really emphasizes what Riot wants her to be, which is the late game hyper carry. So her early mid game's not nearly as strong anymore. Karma was the beneficiary of a lot of changes of this patch, so we'll just skip right down. We don't need to read all this. So the way Karma's passive works is that when you auto-attack or hit someone with a spell, the cooldown of your mantra or your ultimate is going to go down. So they're basically increasing the cooldown refund on it. So when you hit someone with a spell, it scales up in 2.5 to 3 seconds, depending on what level you are, 1, 7, or 13. And same with auto attacks, except 1.25, and 1.5. So this is really nice for Karma. You'll be able to get your mantra up a lot quicker. and her mantra is essentially how she's so good, or how she's able to do as many things as she can. It makes her a really in-depth champion to play, with a lot of potential. Karma's Focus Resolve, so her Focus Resolve is one where she puts a leash on the target and it can snare. So you can now target monsters with it as well, so I guess for farming jungle camps, and the AP ratio goes up, so it'll do more damage to champions and to monsters. So if you use the mantra form of W, the duration of the root goes up, which is really nice, but it'll do less. It will no longer trigger bonus damage. I think this is a better change because the idea of the root is that you want them to be rooted longer anyway, so one of your carries can follow up on it, or so you can follow up with a Q and spike them out with your poke. So you really don't need this extra damage on the root, but the extra snare duration is actually really nice. As we move down to her E, which is her it's her shield and thing that makes people run faster. Slightly lower cooldown as you rank it up, and the mana cost is also slightly down as well per level, but it shields for less overall as it scales to level 5. But it's a worthwhile change because less of a cooldown, less mana, so you'll be able to put out more shields in the long run anyway. Now, with her mantra E, the shield amount goes up significantly, and it scales with ability power, but it'll no longer do damage. So it's more of a utility spell now rather than a damage spell. So it's definitely a buff to support Karma. Absolutely. This patch is definitely aiming at supports, try to change them around, and this patch will help that out significantly. As we go down to Leona. Leona's E, the missile width goes down, so it's just a little bit harder to hit. So, which makes sense because before, like, a lot of champions have this. Like visually, it looks like that. It visually looks like that it's not hitting, but it is. So, this is just to fix that. Buff to support Lulu, but doesn't really change solo lane Lulu here. Her base mana regen goes up slightly, but her mana regen growth, so mana regen per level, goes down. So this is better for in-lane Lulu, or like support Lulu, because you'll be able to like spam your spells or shield or whatever, but you won't get extra mana per level anymore, which is a nerf. Well, it's not necessarily a nerf to AP Lulu, but it doesn't really do anything, so not a big change. Rek'Sai, one of the other top junglers at the moment, had her base health slightly reduced. So the reason why Riot made this change was because Rek'Sai has really reliable level 3 ganks. Because what you're able to do is you can... essentially you're just healing up in between camps through your passive while you're in burrowed form. So after chugging 2 pots and doing some camps and such, you'll be at full HP by the end. And you'll be able to do a Scuttle Crab, get some early jungle control within their own jungle. Because unless they're playing Gragas, really, they're going to be low or they're going to have to back. So you can either make a level 3 gank or you can be invading their jungler, getting vision, etc. So this here is trying to prevent her dominance at the level 3 mark. Because right now, no one's better than Rek'Sai at level 3. Well, arguably Gragas, but... Ryze, after his rework, is receiving some buffs as well. I haven't really read this much yet, so we're going to read it now. Okay, so the supercharged duration of his passive is going up to 6 seconds at all ranks. Okay, so before it's scaled depending on how many ranks were in your ultimate, but now it's just 6 seconds. So that's a clear buff for Ryze. And then his Q damage goes, it scales better now. Level 1 is still the same, but it'll scale up. And Desperate Power, the duration goes up to 6 at all. Those are some nice buffs to Ryze. Ryze could come back, it's just people need to figure out how to play him. Especially because his build path and laning is a lot different than it used to be before. It's not as like face roll or easy, so to speak. So people need to figure it out, and he could come back because his damage is pretty good. Sejuani, the third in the jungle trio. She's getting some nerfs as well. Her W right now, it's doing bonus magic damage based on the target's maximum health, and they're significantly lowering that damage. So this is a nerf to not only her jungle clear, but also to Sejuani's damage in team fights or on ganks. This is actually a really big Sejuani nerf, and in my opinion, this is going to push her down the tier list to behind Gragas and Rek'Sai 100%. She's still really, really good, don't get me wrong, but she definitely does not do as much damage anymore. So she's probably comparable to Nunu, but she's better than Nunu, if that makes sense. Rek'Sai and Gragas are both clearly better than her at the moment. Scrolling down, Sion had this really broken bug where his ultimate, Unstoppable Onslaught, it would scale with the opponent's attack damage. So what would happen is that Sion would ult an AD carry or something, he'd ram into them, and it would just do half their HP, because it would scale off their AD, because Sion doesn't build AD. So this bug was really dumb. Like, you could ult into Baron Pit in a team fight, and it would just kill everything. Like, it would do insane damage to Baron as well. So, yeah, important bug to fix. And the last direct change to a champion is on Taric, who has not been played since like Season 2. The mana cost on his heal, it goes down because the mana cost on it was outrageous. Yeah. Yeah, mana cost down significantly, but really this does like nothing for Taric. He's pretty garbage still. Lag issues in the shop, whatever. Okay, let's get down to items. So the first thing is the Ancient Coin line, which ends with the Talisman of Ascension. So what they've done is they've upped the gold per minion, or each time a unit dies near, or a minion dies near you, you get 3 gold now instead of 2. And the gold collection range is slightly up. So it's a nice buff, more passive gold in lane with the Ancient Coin. But the problem is that Ancient Coin itself is still not very good. Even Nomad's Medallion. Nomad's Medallion is actually okay. You get 50% mana regen up from 25. And you get health back, 5 to 10. You now get 10 health back per minion, and you get 4 gold per minion death. So it's better clearly than it was before, but it's still not really worth it. Like if I'm playing like Thresh, who's like a ranged melee weird thing, I'm still gonna build a Runic Shield, or what's it called? Relic Shield, or yeah, Relic Shield. That's the one. Because of the gold that you get in lane, plus the extra tankiness and the healing. But the thing is, where the buffs have really helped out is the Talisman of Ascension. Not only do you get 4 gold per minion death, this isn't quite as relevant if you have Talisman, because you're not really going to be in lane at this point anyway. Same thing with the health and the gold collection range, but the active cooldown goes down to 40 seconds, and we'll see why this makes such a big deal later as well. We might have to do a little bit of math on this, but 40 seconds from 60. This is substantial because with a couple changes and things like this, you could get this up like twice in a prolonged team fight, which is huge. Talisman's definitely of the 3 support items. Talisman's the best already without this patch going live. So this is a significant change that makes Talisman the best. The problem is that these 2 items, Ancient Coin and Nomad's Medallion, both kind of suck. Moving on to Ardent Sensor. The attack speed buff now grants 30 magic damage on hit, but the attack speed buff in general is lower. Magic damage proc shows critical hit. Oh, well, that's whatever. But the thing is, so essentially, it'll do more damage, but it gives less attack speed. And yeah, because essentially with the active, you're buffing a target. So that's actually really nice. Like you could buff a Corki or something, and that would do a lot of damage. But this is really only a change for Alistar. You can no longer heal minions, because Alistar would be able to heal the whole minion wave with Ardent Sensor, which was insanely broken. Except no one built Ardent Sensor, because it was garbage. And it's still not that great in my opinion, but I'd have to see how it works in-game, because just by looking at the numbers, I can't really tell, to be honest. So. Bilgewater Cutlass and Blade of the Ruined King, the range goes up slightly, and the reason they made this change is because before, this is what the range used to be, and on melee champions that was insanely broken. But since they've changed Blade of the Ruined King a lot, it's probably safe to bring it back to 550. Because right now, Blade of the Ruined King is actually quite good at this tank melting thing, but Bloodthirster, in terms of a lifesteal item, Bloodthirster is still superior. So they're trying to make Blade of the Ruined King a very, very good second choice, and it's arguably the first choice right now. So, Banner, Command, the cast range goes up slightly, whatever, nothing to see here. tankier supports will all go into the defense tree and put a little bit into utility. But now, going into utility is actually worth it with the way they've swapped around some of the masteries here. So meditation and expanded mind. So if we actually go into the mastery tree here. So meditation is at the very top here, and expanded mind, where is it? Expanded mind is in the middle. Yeah, here it is, okay. So expanded mind is now going to the top, and meditation's going down here. Like if we go to my support page, like here's my thresh page. I don't even have expanded mind on here, because there's just no point. And I only have 17 points into utility. So what it does now is that meditation will now give mana a percentage of mana back based on how much health or mana you're missing. So it's a little bit like a mini chalice. So this makes it this does make it stronger actually, significantly. And it makes it warranted on these like casting supports like Zyra or Lulu to put a point down here. Expanded Mind goes up, so it's a nerf to Rise in the sense that it doesn't give any more mana, but Rise doesn't need that mana garbage anymore. So having this up here gives you higher base mana, so that's really good on champions again like Lulu or Karma, or it's great on Blitzcrank as well, because if you put 3 points into that mastery, it'll give you 75 extra mana. Plus, like if we go to a room page here, I have a Blitzcrank page in here somewhere. It's Alistar. Like I'm running mana blues on my Blitzcrank, so that's an extra 101 mana at level 1. Plus you get 100. Plus you get 75, so that's like 186 extra mana at level 1. So that really strengthens your passive, plus your lane dominance as a champion like Blitzcrank. Moving down to Inspiration. So if we look at the current numbers here, 5 experience every 10 seconds while near a higher level allied champion. So now it's gaining 10 to 20 experience every 10 seconds while you're near a champion of a higher level. Because as a support, your AD carry is typically always going to be a higher level than you. So in reality, they're making this so it's either 10 or 20 experience. So you're getting more experience. In reality, in my opinion, it's still not that great of a mastery. But it's better, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's still not worth taking. Like this is a page that I used to run for Morgana. And I still don't have Inspiration or the current Expanded Mind. I still don't have either of those taken. So Inspiration's probably still not that great, but it's better. Bandit or Pickpocket, whatever you want to call it, grants 8 gold every time an enemy champion is attacked, and it's on a 5-second cooldown. This is really good on these ranged champions, so it's good on Thresh because he's like a brawler, so to speak. It's really good on Sona. It's good on Zyra. It's good on Lulu. And Annie as well. These champions that do good damage with their autos and are able to poke just through auto attacking, maybe with a spell as well. That's where this is going to be really good. Intelligence. Now this is a significant one. So we're going to do some math on this probably a little bit. So it reduces the cooldown of activated items, and they up the percentage slightly. So actually significantly, not slightly. So at level 3, if you take 3 points into it, it lowers the cooldown by 20%. So what's 20% times 40? So it's an extra 8. So really, your Talisman of Ascension is going to be on like a 30-second cooldown or something like that in a team fight, which is really good because you could win a team fight and then immediately and Talisman in that fight, and by the time you're ready for another fight, it'll already be up again, and you could just keep fighting. So this Intelligence Mastery is actually really, really, really good. I mean, I'm already taking 3 points into it for the 10%. This 20%'s significant. This is insanely good now. Wanderer, so it goes from 5% movement speed, so I don't know, like most support champions probably have like 330, so it's like 0.05 times 335. 335 is a pretty gentle thing, so you get like an extra 16.75 movement speed. Now you get like an extra plus 20 flat. So yeah, it's better. It is better, but no, it's clearly better. You do get more movement speed overall. It doesn't really matter how much movement speed that you would have. The plus 20 is always going to be slightly better. Alright, that's it for items. So now to the map itself. Super Minions now have negative 30 MR. So the AP champions like Ziggs and Xerath are going to just be ripping them apart now. They'll actually be able to clear the minions. Monster leashing. People are complaining about this already. This is essentially the death of ranged junglers, because the way it worked before, you were able to essentially reset the jungle camp yourself up to 6 times. Now you can only do it 3 times. So jungle champions like Kale, Twitch, people like to play Twisted Fate, champions like that will no longer be able to clear because they don't have the ability to tank out the camps. So this is kind of the thing that's going to phase out ranged junglers for now. Elise as well, I guess, but she's already bad. So yeah, essentially you can't really. Yeah, you have to be tanky now to do these camps at an early level. You can't just do them anymore as a range. So, couple visual adjustments. This is whatever. Just you can toggle things on and off in your settings. I'm not gonna cover Howling Abyss or like these rank notification things. Twisted Tree Line Hexakill. Couple bug fixes as well. Fix a bug where enemy stealth wards placed and immediately caught by sweeping ward would still briefly turn invisible. Yeah, that was really annoying because it would force you to stutter your auto, or it wouldn't disable the ward immediately, so someone would actually still get vision with it. So this fixes that. And Banshee's Veil, sometimes it wouldn't. Frost Queen's Claim, the active Banshee's Veil sometimes wouldn't stop it. So. And there's a few new skins coming out. Knockout Lee Sin looks pretty cool. Order of the Lotus. Nightmare Tournament is cool as well. So, and yeah, spam. Yeah. That's basically it for this patch. Pretty decent amount of info, and I tried to talk a little bit faster. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know how long the stream is actually. I don't know how long it's going to end up being. But that's about it, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Let me know what you guys think about the patch in the comments, or if you guys want to ask me any questions, feel free to. I love answering them. I love talking about League with anybody. So, yeah, thank you very much, and yeah, that's it.